Corruption adversely affects each and every sector of the country.
Ideology.
This is a great location for Nepal to explore its potential.
Namaste. Welcome to Youth TV Show Season 10. In today's episode, we are featuring Nepal's top 7 debaters produced by Leadership Academy. The topic for the final round of Category 4, Bachelor's Level is SAARC is no longer effective. Our finalists are Rimsha Shakya from Patan Multiple Campus Lalitpur and Rachana Aryal from Maharajganj Medical Campus. Our judges for today's final round are Santosh Shah. He is the president of Leadership Academy. Our second judge is Ms. Kamal Keshari Tuladar. She is the service director of Zone Tak. We will now begin with the first round of the debate competition. May I request the finalist Rimsha Shakya to come up on the stage to speak for the motion.
SAARC, after 32 years of establishment, but neither the South Asian countries have been able to push the process of regional integration into full swing, nor the organization itself has become viable enough to promote peace, trust, and cohesion in the region. South Asian Free Trade Agreement, which was signed on 12th summit of SAARC, aimed to create free trade area in the region, but economically, South Asia is one of the least integrated regions in the world with a very low level of intra-regional trade and foreign direct investment. According to a report, the intra-regional trade of this region is under 5%, which is even less than that of 50 years ago. SAARC, comprising 21% of world population, accounts for 6% of world's purchasing power parity-based global GDP, 2% of world trade goods, 3% of foreign direct investment, while 40% of world's total poor. SAARC, trust deficit among the member states, lack of political difference. Trust deficit among the member states, differences in the political ideology and security cooperation, rivalry between India and Pakistan, Indian hegemonic design and its indifferent behavior towards Pakistan and other countries, lack of infrastructure, political instability, financial crisis, developmental deficit, internal problems. These are among the many hurdles and obstacles that has led to the failure and downfall of SAARC. 3 decades of existence, number of proposed developmental programs, agreements, summits, red tapeism, formalities, paperwork, but its achievements and outcomes meager and unconvincing. SAARC has largely just been a disappointing body. SAARC is no longer effective. Thank you.
May I now request the finalist Rachana Aryal to come up on the stage to speak against the motion.
My opponent very naively argued upon the fact that SAARC is a potentially ineffective organization. Well, before coming back to my opponent, I'd like to take you all back to the years before 1985 in South Asian countries. I ask you to imagine, just imagine a period full of conflicts and tensions between all its nations. On top of that, countries were victims of low economy, widespread poverty, terrorism, cross-border disputes, even food, security, social welfare, trade, education, health, and whatnot. It would not be doubtful to say that South Asia was one of the world's most impoverished areas. At such situation, SAARC was established. SAARC came up as a hope to create strong bonding among its member nations via economic, cultural, and social cross-border exchange. In about 3 decades, it has made commendable achievements in a lot of fields. Now, since my opponent put on all her efforts into proving this as a failed organization, I'd like to cite some very recent facts that can prove how effective this organization still is. Number 1, I'll talk about trade first. Trade facilitation agreements and measures have been put in place under SAARC. SAARC Mutual Administrative Assistance in Custom Matters and SAARC Multilateral Agreement on the Avoidance of Double Taxation are in effect. Number 2, poverty. South Asia is still characterized as the pocket of global poverty. However, in the 18th SAARC summit, ministerial and secretary level mechanism on poverty alleviation was directed. In this regard, intergovernmental process has already been initiated. Number 3, energy. Energy constitutes another important area for cooperation. SAARC Framework Agreement on Energy Cooperation was signed in 2014 and is in the process of ratification. It has actually opened up an avenue for energy trade in this region. Isn't this an achievement? Number 4, exports-imports. Asian Developmental Bank has estimated that the intra-regional trade in SAARC region possess the potential of shooting up agricultural exports by $14 billion per year. How can one call this organization ineffective? ineffective when there are these many achievements and these many potentials of it? Thank you.
As I mentioned, the failure of SAARC to meet the objective of South Asian Free Trade Agreement and SAARC Preferential Trading Agreement, but my fellow opponent consider those same facts as an achievement of SAARC without knowing the details of subject matter in depth. I repeat, the intra-regional trade of the SAARC is under 5%, which is even less than that of 50 years ago. In comparison to intra-regional trade of other Asian Union agents, which is 25.8%. Every SAARC nation has more trade with China in comparison to SAARC nation. So how can this be an achievement of SAARC? She also spoke about the poverty eradication program. I do admit that India has been able to foster its economy to great extent nowadays, but is the objective of SAARC limited to fostering the economy of India alone? The objective of SAARC is to foster the economy of all member states comparatively. So how can this be an achievement of SAARC? I repeat, SAARC comprises 40% of world's total poor. So this is no way an achievement of SAARC, and I repeat, SAARC is no longer effective. Thank you.
You will never know how far you've come until you stop at one point and look back from where you had started. The same goes with trade in SAARC nations. My opponent, you cannot just say that this entire organization is ineffective just by observing trade values of certain years or by saying that the intra-regional trade is much less than 5%. If we observe the trend of exports in SAARC nations, we can predict that SAARC has emerged as a dynamic sub-region in terms of trade. I can give you examples. SAARC has been achieving a lot in terms of trade. From 2001 to 2011, exports in current US $1 million have increased 21 folds for India, 15 folds for Bangladesh, 11 folds for Pakistan. In fact, most countries have double-digit growth of exports. From 2009 to 2012, exports increased substantially from $206.7 billion US dollars to $354.6 billion US dollars. So if you evaluate these things, I'm very sure my opponent will not be able to say that SAARC is a failed organization in terms of trade. Thank you.
May I now request both the finalists to come up on the stage. May I request the judges for their feedback.
Rimsa and Rachna, I would say both of you did quite well. It's a very tricky topic. SAARC is no longer effective, and both of you have equal amount of content to discuss here, some of which you have done today. Rimsa, are you a bit nervous today, right now? Yeah, you need to take a break and work on your nervousness. I have a feeling you have a lot to tell and you're kind of stuck because of nervousness. So take it easy during the break and then come up with the content that you have which you're not able to deliver. Now, both of you have a very good flow of debating. You're very clear on your content and you both make your point quite clear. Now, one thing what I would like to suggest, and then during the break in the next round, in the second round, you could come up with more examples other than India and Pakistan. Like we all know that these two countries dominate the SAARC region, and that's because we do not, even the media does not bring the rest of the countries into the picture. Like there are countries like Maldives and Bhutan, which probably we never hear in most of the debate of the SAARC discussions. Afghanistan is there, but because Afghanistan is always in the global news, we do see its presence. But when you discuss the education, economy, trade links, currency, etc. of Afghanistan, we barely hear those contents either. So also try to include more countries, including our own country, Nepal. Hopefully during the break you get to work on that. All the best.
Like Santoshi said, it's a very tricky topic, and it's been in existence for 32 years. So a lot of changes should have happened. And the reason why it hasn't happened, changes happen, which restricts. And Rimsha and Rachana, you have a lot of matter and statistics you all have presented. There's still a lot more and the time is short, we know. And Rimsha has, you have to be more clear when you talk. And Rachana is very clear and precise. So that helps a lot. So all the best for your next round. And the positiveness which Rachana showed was good. And you had a lot of the exact issues to talk about, which showed that it was no longer effective, which was interesting.
We will be back after a short break with the second round of Nepal's top 7 debaters. Welcome back. You are watching Nepal's top 7 debaters. We will now begin with the rebuttal round.
My fellow friends spoke about the vision and objective of SAARC creation trace back to 1985, but let me highlight a fact that the 19th summit of SAARC that was to be held in Islamabad was cancelled after 5 member states, including India, decided to withdraw their participation from the summit because of a terror attack. The opposition of Pakistan in the initiatives in the summit and pulling out from various projects such as SAARC satellite project, motor vehicle agreement proposed by India. India is now paying more attention to BIMSTEC than SAARC. China's big hand from behind in terms to maintain the control and hegemony in the region, and every SAARC nation has more trade with China in comparison to SAARC countries. These are the major evidences which proves that SAARC has become more and more irrelevant. Neither it has been able to enhance economic and regional integrity in the region, nor it has been able to implement the programs such as poverty eradication program, solving girls trafficking program. It has failed in all ways, and I repeat, SAARC is no longer effective. Thank you.
It seems as if my opponent has forgotten what no longer effective means. When you're trying to clean up a room, but you end up picking up not even a piece of paper that was thrown, that action would be best described as being no longer effective or useless or being ineffective. Are you trying to say that SAARC has been doing nothing at all these days? What about SAARC funding smaller nations like Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan? These countries have been getting funds from SAARC nations in order to improve sectors on education, health, eradication of poverty. Also, talking about summits, the 20th SAARC summit is already scheduled to be held in Sri Lanka. The fact that summit mechanism have been continued till date in itself proves that SAARC as an organization has very strong vitality. Also, if, my dear opponent, SAARC would have been ineffective, why would there have been countries applying for observer status membership of SAARC? There are in total 8 countries that are observer countries of SAARC. Myanmar, which is an observer nation, it has expressed its high interest in upgrading its status from an observer to a full-time member nation of SAARC. My opponent called SAARC a disappointment. Why would any country want to become a permanent member of an organization that is an ineffective organization? At the end, I'd say SAARC has a lot of potentials, and if we move forward with SAARC, good days are definitely ahead of us. Thank you.
May I now request both the finalists to come up on the stage. May I request the judges for their feedback.
It's been very interesting listening to both of you, Rimsha and Rachana. So it's given us a lot of ideas. And Rimsha talked about SAARC being an unwanted baby, kind of, and Rachana saying that we have to readopt it. So both of you are very interesting, and good luck to both of you.
Rimsa, your second round was definitely better than the first round. And Rachna, you were consistent from your first round. Now, as I said earlier, the topic is a bit tricky. It's not a difficult topic. Like when we discuss SAARC, it's not just one office that we are discussing. Nepal, India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Most of these countries are dominating the world news headlines right now. So there's so much to talk about. And when you talk about SAARC, you can also connect it with BIMSTEC, which you started. There's ASEAN, there is Africa Union, there is European Union. There's so many, there's BRIC. What are these organizations doing? If they are effective, why are they effective? The G20 summits. Why do these organizations get created? For that, say, even United Nations that comprise almost the entire world. So if you look at the rest of the unions, especially the European Union, you'll see now they have a common currency, which is called euro, right? So would a SAARC currency be interesting? You know, when we talk about newness, there's so much, it's not even a new topic actually. Currency, common currency is an old topic. Is SAARC discussing that? You know, the SAARC visa, nowadays if you have Schengen visa as a non-European, you could travel to many European countries. So having a SAARC visa, would that allow you to freely travel within the South Asia or the SAARC nations? Now, free visa and a common currency, what would that look like between India and Pakistan with so much of mistrust, counterfeit currencies, and the terror travels? Right, so there is so much to talk about when you discuss SAARC. And then also our reason is probably the cheapest on the telecom, mobile use when it's inside the country. Very expensive when you have to call the other SAARC nations. Why is it so that we are the cheapest telecommunications in the world within the country? And just across the border, it costs us probably more expensive than calling in United States and Europe. And how does that communications, and to add to that even road links, like South Asia is one of the region with the worst airline connectivity and even worse road connectivity. Combine that with the immigration. Hence, but if you look at the Silk Route days, or when there were no borders like 500 years ago, these road links were quite good. Like the world relied on the economy of this road. So there's so much to also bring history into the picture and how the currency, visa, telecommunications, and transportations hinder all the topics that you brought up, like economy, education. A lot of Nepalese go to India to study every kinds of subjects. A lot of Nepalese go to Pakistan and Bangladesh to study medicine. So how does the linkages between communications, transportation, visa issues affect the educational exchange? Even today, a lot of saints from India comes to Nepal for their spiritual education. Maybe we are not aware of it, but it happens every year, hundreds of them, thousands of them. The world comes to Nepal for the Buddhist studies near Kathmandu in the mountains, monasteries. All of that can be a part of the SAARC study. So there's so much that we can talk about on this topic. And since this is the end of the debate, I can tell you this. But earlier you had to come up with your own topic. So I would say you both did very well for the 3 rounds that you participated in. Now we'll tally the marks and see where you stand.
The judges are finalizing their mark, and we are eagerly waiting to know who is declared the winner and the runner-up. May I now request our judge, Mr. Santosh Shah, to announce the results.
The first winner of Nepal's top 7 debaters, category 6, bachelor's level English category, is Rachana Aryal. Congratulations. And the second winner of Nepal's top 7 debaters, category 6, bachelor's level English language, is Rimsa Sakya. Congratulations.
Congratulations to the winner and the runner-up. Leadership Academy conducts Nepal's top 7 debaters and Nepal's top 7 young poets every year. If you are a student between grade 7 and bachelor's level and are interested to audition for any of these 2 competitions, you can approach the principal or the ECA coordinator at your school or college, or follow us at facebook.com/leadershipacademykTM. We will be back next week with a new episode of Youth TV show. Namaste.